Good day, everyone. Jim Laird joining you live from Nicaragua, Grand Pacifica. Dr. Stillman is in Naples. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest things we deal with, I've dealt with in my coaching career, Dr. Stillman deals with in medical practice, is burnout. Super high achieving, hard charging people that just one day, they just can't push anymore, and we're going to talk all about that, what we see, people, the mistakes they make, and I would say energy and burnout with, weight gain is probably the three things that we hear people complain about the most. And it's kind of a chronic.
I hear fatigue, inability to lose weight, brain fog. When I hear those things, I immediately think burnout. Many of these people don't identify as burned out because they're so used to being burned out, they don't know any other way of being.
That is correct.
Yeah. Back to you, Jim.
So, this is something I've dealt with over my entire career, as I would attract those hard charging people. It's much easier to get someone who's unmotivated to do a little bit more. It's really hard to convince someone who's a hard charger that maybe backing off and doing less and being more present and being more mindful is the key to them having more success, because in their mind, they have to work harder. It's kind of like being stuck in quicksand. You freak out, you panic, and the more you struggle, the deeper you sink. And it's a hard thing for people to just realize that part of the process of getting in a better place is letting go and actually accepting where you are,
Well, I think one of the things that people struggle with when it comes to burnout is they don't understand its causes. And this misperception of the cause then leads them to chase solutions that are both unsustainable and very flawed. So why do people get burned out? This whole idea of burned out, right? To analyze this two-word, or it's really a portmanteau of two words, statement, burning, consumption of energy, fuel, like a candle burning out or an engine burning out. There's a consumption element to it. It implies potentially burning too hot, running too hot, consuming resources too quickly before they can be replenished, right? What kind of resources are we talking about? This is where a lot of people miss the boat. There's two sides of the energy equation. Einstein, general relativity, E equals mc squared. There's matter, vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, etc. There's energy, light, sound, electromagnetic radiations, all the energies that pervade our bodies, our world, emotions, psychological phenomena, paranormal phenomena, for that matter. All of these energies have an effect upon our matter. And I've been heartened in the last several years, that the health and wellness space is now hosting more and more people who think about the energy side of the equation, with blue blockers, with EMF detection, EMF mitigation, all these various tools that we use when we take care of people, when we coach people, when we help people to fix their energetic environment. And then obviously we use supplements, and people see a lot of this in the health and wellness info space of supplements and functional foods and diet and et cetera, nutrition, putting the right matter back into the system for it to work optimally. And what I think people don't realize is, and are often frustrated by, is they say, I eat healthy, I take the right supplements, or I take supplements that I think are right for me. I go to the gym, I try to get good quality sleep, and yet my health evades me. And no matter how much I do to try and put energy back into my equation, either with light, sound, sleep, energetic things, PEMF, red light therapy, the whole nine, right? Or matter, vitamins, minerals, supplements, herbs, whatever. No matter how much work I do to try and bring the energy level back up and cure my burnout, I am still burned out, or these results that I see and get are fleeting, ephemeral, and not durable. And when I'm talking to people who are interested in working with us, one of the things I impress upon them is that my goal for everyone is to see significant, durable results within the first 3 to 6 months. Why do I focus on that 3 to 6 month window? Many people are willing to jump in and fully commit and comply and show up to calls and do the work in the 3 to 6 month window. And if they will do that, then after that 3 to 6 month window, we need less and less time and less intervention. And they already have the momentum to keep going. I'll share in a moment in the comments the testimonials folder that we curate at my medical practice. We're going to have a testimonial folder like this for the fundamentals of wellness and all of our other coaching programs as soon as we can get those recorded. And the thing that I want people to realize about the people who come to us, particularly with fatigue, particularly with resistant weight loss, inability to lose weight, with all the symptoms of burnout, is they all, in these testimonials that you can go watch, they see or they say that no one thing fixed their burnout or fixed their problem or gave them the results they were looking for. It's always a combination of things. And many of them are shocked that what they needed, perhaps least, was sometimes a consult with Dr. Stillman and labs. And that's one of the biggest and most pernicious, I don't know if I want to call it a lie, but ideas out there is that the sick person needs most of all a consult with a physician and labs. I'm not going to say there's not a tremendous value in that, but I can think of one testimonial I've received and recorded in the last 2 months where somebody said, all the benefit I've received in my time working with you, Dr. Stillman, was from the supplements. And they admit as well, because I pointed this out to them during the testimonial, they admitted that they were looking forward to engaging with our whole coaching and really teaching system to understand what else they could do to achieve the health that they desire. And I particularly, in cases like that, I'm always worried that they're going to run out of what I call therapeutic runway on the supplements without fixing their lifestyle and their diet potentially and other areas or elements of what's creating their illness. And they're going to just get by on the supplements, and then they're going to end up right back where they were. Because if you don't have coaching, if you don't have a healthy diet and lifestyle to go along with supplements and medications and so on and so forth, other things that may be part of your wellness plan and your road to wellness, then frequently what we see is insignificant results or significant results that are fleeting and ephemeral and disappear. And that's the second thing I say to people that I want for them is durable results. I want their results to be durable in the sense that they don't need to take a stack of supplements in the morning when they wake up. They don't need to do some kind of crazy biohack or morning ritual. They don't need 2 cups of coffee in order to function during the day. If they had to, they could roll out of bed, drink nothing but water all day, not eat a single thing, and feel great at the end of the day. That's my goal for everyone we work with. That's what we call resiliency. That's what we call fitness. That's what we call really good health and an abundance of health. And our purpose in this webinar, at least my purpose, Jim and I don't do a lot of whole prep for these, is to explain to people what we see really working for people. And I'm excited to share the testimonials link with people because I don't think there's any better message for you to understand what really works than listening to those testimonials and hearing people say, I'm 95% better because of this, and this that Jim and Dr. Stillman and their team delivered through our various coaching programs and at the medical practice. Back to you, Jim.
Well, and a lot of people will say blatantly they didn't think that the coaching would really make that big a difference. You know, I don't need coaching. I already know what's going on. And I shared a really interesting video from a friend of mine, a colleague who's a strength coach for the Arizona Cardinals football team. His name's Buddy Morris, and he talks about slow cooking athletes. He's like, things that are going to last take time to develop. And that's why we're not big on these like quick fix things. We want to establish habits and we want to make adaptations. We want to give people things that they can implement over time, because when you get small, sustainable changes over time, those are the things that stick. The quick 6-week, 8-week, you can do a lot of those things. And a lot of times when you do the fundamentals, you get some pretty fast results, but the body can only adapt so quickly, negative or positive. And so we want to have sustainable, lasting results. And that comes with consistency. And that's why we offer these coaching programs to offer you support and help over the long haul, because that's what I noticed in the people that I worked with for 20 years. It was consistently doing work within your ability to recover over time that is what moves the needle. And most people today kind of fall into that. Most of the people in the fitness industry are like, well, you're just lazy, you're not moving enough. And there is some truth to that. Our activity levels have gone way down. But where most people do not take into account is the amount of chronic stress that they're constantly under, and that you have to make a deliberate choice to pull yourself out of that chronic stress that's created by our modern lifestyle, so that you're not running emotionally in afterburner all the time, burning up all these resources, not going anywhere. Right.
And we also,
go ahead.
It's really important for people to get perspective on their stress. And that's one of the things we help people with the most. They think, oh, I'm just a hairdresser. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just a small business owner. This level of stress is normal. This level of stress is what I'm used to. This level of stress is what I've adapted to. No, this level of stress is what is burning you out. And you need to find a way to shift responsibilities from you to other people in your life, set boundaries with people so that they are not preying on your time and frankly exploiting or even outright abusing you. And you need to get real about what your capacity and your bandwidth is for anything. Parenting your kids, volunteering at your local civic organizations or nonprofits or churches, studying, school, career, having a relationship. I mean, we see so much mayhem coming into people's lives because they're grossly unrealistic about their goals. And that's why we always start with goals and a conversation about goals. But we also start by trying to get really clear on how much stress someone's under. We do this with a combination in the medical practice of labs and vital signs. But what I think a lot of people don't know, and today we're really going to focus on talking about our coaching program. And the reason why is that a lot of people come into the medical practice with the misconception that coaching, particularly group coaching, is not for them, that they're not going to be comfortable with it, that they're not going to get anything out of it, and that what they really need is one-on-one consultations with lab work. The thing they don't understand is that the secrets to the abnormalities in their lab work can be deduced from things that a coach can bring out and elicit and learn in a group or one-on-one consult, and that oftentimes they're throwing good money after bad by getting labs before they are coached into the right lifestyle, diet, exercise regimen for them, and that their Oura Ring, which is our favorite fitness tracker, I'll post a link to that in the comments in a minute, but their Oura Ring will give us 3 things that we care deeply about: HRV, resting heart rate, and respiratory rate. And time and again, people come to us with these 3 things way out of range, signifying massive amounts of stress. And they will struggle to get results. They're doing all the supplements, all the biohacks. They live in a 100% EMF-free, low VOC, organic, cruelty-free, soy-free, dairy-free, vegan home that's whatever, and they don't eat any toxins. And the last time they ate gluten was 1985, and they don't understand why they're not getting results. And the reason I shared the testimonials, and by the way, I'm very protective of my people, the people who come to me for help. I don't share links to testimonials on social media because there's lots of mean, vindictive, weird, messed up people out there. I've posted the testimonials only in the comments for people who are watching this webinar on StreamYard. If you didn't get that link, you snooze, you lose. I mean, I'll tell you how to find it later. But the reason I do that is if you got the link on StreamYard and you're watching on StreamYard, you are on our email list. We didn't promote this on social media because, well, for various reasons, we'd rather have you be on the email list than just follow us on social media. You guys know the algorithms are changing all the time. They don't want people like us to succeed on social media because we threaten the powers that be that are trying to basically ruin people's health with various forms of technology and so on and so forth. So back to burnout and wellness and all that stuff. The reason that one of the things people say repeatedly in the testimonials is, I had no idea all these mistakes I was making in my diet and my lifestyle. And then I finally went through your coaching program and you showed me all these things I was doing that were creating my illness rather than my wellness. And we see this, and I'm tempted to make a lot of content on this, but I'm still weighing that in my mind. I see this a lot in the thyroid world. Many people with burnout have thyroid problems. They have burned out their thyroid. And one of the trends I see on social media right now is that the top posts for thyroid, a lot of them are things like, here's the optimal TSH, here's the optimal free T3, here's the optimal RT3, reverse T3. Throw all that out. Here's why. I trended my labs for 8 weeks. I did 6 lab draws. I did a full thyroid panel and a full comprehensive wellness panel that we do in our practice. And what I found was that many of my thyroid numbers fluctuated radically. This is in a young, healthy man with no fatigue, no weight loss, no eyebrow thinning, no symptoms of thyroid disorders or disease at all. My TSH could fluctuate from 1.5 to 4.5. I would have walked into many functional medicine practices on any of those given days with a TSH between 2 and 4.5, and they would have said, oh, Dr. Stillman, you have low thyroid function. You need thyroid hormone. What a crock. And people are being sold this bill of goods by the functional and integrative medicine community of, you all need to come in for labs and supplements and biohacks and all these things. These are great tools. These have a tremendous amount of value. We use them, we employ them, but we're also really clear with people that if you haven't spent some serious time with a coach like Jim or myself, because frankly, in the last 2 years since Jim and I started working together, he's taught me a lot about coaching. And by the way, some of these testimonials, people, like somebody said in one of the testimonials, like Jim is like God's gift to humanity, which was great. And more than one person in their testimonial said something along the lines of, I had no idea, like 60% of the value I got out of working with you guys was having one conversation with Jim. That's how much people underestimate the value of really good coaching. And when you put a doctor with all this background in the labs in the same room as a coach like Jim, who's got 20 plus years of experience, that's how we get results. And what people say over and over again is, I totally underestimated the value of the coaching. And I didn't realize how much of my burnout was coming from chronic mistakes I was making in my diet and lifestyle. And I was jumping from functional medicine, integrative medicine clinic, one place to another over and over and over again. I saw all the doctors in my local area. I started flying across the country or across the world to access other physicians who had heard about through podcasts and social media and whatever. But you guys showed me all these things that all the other people missed. I'm not trying to denigrate them or be mean to them. I'm not trying to call them out, so I'm not naming names. But there's this terrible trend in integrative and functional medicine to not coach well in tandem with medical care. And it's a big part of why I'm now seeing in social media this backlash against functional medicine of, I spent all this money, I bought all these supplements, I did all these lab tests, I only had 30 minutes with a clinician. They didn't explain any of these laboratory abnormalities. I didn't come away with any diet or lifestyle advice, or if I did, it was very cookie cutter and one size fits all. And we see you guys coming out of this world and you're very disillusioned, and you should be, because it doesn't lead to significant, durable results. And the reason why is the fundamental causes of things like burnout and all the attendant symptoms and problems that go along with it are not being addressed by functional medicine alone. And that's why if you come to me for medical care, get ready to be coached. We are not going to medicate or doctor you unless you're also willing to engage with coaching. And that's largely because the worst results I get are the people who don't get coached and who are uncoachable. So much so that we screen these people out and say, go find someone else if you're not open to being coached. Right, Jim?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest component of having success over the long run, is making the fundamental lifestyle changes. You can do,
right,
all the TRT, all the hormone replacement you want. If you don't fix the underlying root cause of why you've got yourself in this hole, you're just going to dig the hole even deeper, essentially.
Right.
If you're listening to this on the podcast later, or if you're on a blog or whatever, and you didn't get the link to the Google Drive for the testimonials because they are very powerful, just go to Stillman MD and opt into the patient application, and you'll be put in a funnel where those testimonials will be shared with you. So you can go look at those by going to Stillman MD and entering the patient application funnel, and you'll be able to look at those if you're watching this at a later date or if you're listening to this on the podcast.
But I have to add to that, Jim, because I'm imagining now there's 90 people watching live. There's going to be hundreds of people who view this later. There's going to be thousands of people who view this in the future. I'm just going to be real with you. We can't scale what we're doing in the medical practice quickly. It takes a long time for me to teach a clinician how to do what I do. And then it takes clinicians a lot of time to treat patients and take care of them and write prescriptions and double check drug interactions and double check, we're going to put them on vitamin E. Are they on fish oil, or are they on perhaps a blood thinner? Do they have it takes a lot of time to doctor people. What that means is that we can comfortably take on 5 to 10 new patients in a month. We currently get 50 to 100 applications every month, and I do not do active promotions of the medical practice, except very rarely. We put out a call for people to book a discovery call for me, and I had about 20 slots open a couple weeks ago. It went out to our 12,000 person email list, and I was booked up within 30 minutes.
30
and I'm not saying that to discourage you or brag or whatever. I just want to be real with you. A lot of you want to work with us, and we badly want to help you. It pains me that we can't take on everyone who wants to work with us. But there's two components to that. One, the medical practice gets expensive because we put a lot of time and a lot of effort in. We'd rather get better results with a smaller number of people than just let everyone book kind of willy-nilly 1 hour at a time and get mediocre and half-baked results all over the place. And so we can take on 5 to 10 people because our method is so rigorous, and it takes us so long to scale the team with new team members. And we are trying to get more time, but believe me, if even with the current volume of applications, we struggle to get everyone, even a discovery call with the practice. We get constant complaints. Hey, there's no calls available. I can't book anything. I hear you. We're trying to increase the availability, but there's only so many of us, and I can't train people faster than I already am. The thing that people don't get is that you can do something today. Right now, our Fundamentals of Wellness coaching program is open. You can go and join the Fundamentals of Wellness coaching program, and you can get 2 Q&As a month with me and Jim on the same call. You can get a weekly Q&A with Jim, and you can get all of our Fundamentals of Wellness videos. You can get all of that right now, today. And it's $150 a month, right, Jim? And it was at it's the first month half off right now?
Yeah, the first month I'm going to put a discount code in there.
Yeah,
that'll get you 50% off the first month.
Yeah,
that's essentially it. And we can. I mean, here's the thing. You're gonna go through all this stuff in the medical practice anyways,
right?
So even if you do get into the medical practice, you're just ahead of the curve if you do that, right?
Right.
So it's. Why don't you explain the system we have? So basically, behind the scenes, we've got how many patients are being managed by a PA or a nurse practitioner, with the nurse assisting them and with an admin. People don't understand how much admin work goes into a patient, right?
I know.
So what if you have 20 patients being managed by a nurse practitioner or an assistant?
I don't like the term managed. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. So
how about guided? Is that a better
they're
word?
being primarily seen by.
Correct. Okay.
And cared for by our nurse practitioner, Warren or Ryan.
Right.
And what Jim is saying, and where he's going with this, I believe, is that where are you going with this, Jim?
I'm going with this. What I'm saying is for every 30 new people we get, we basically have to bring on another team of people.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's essentially what we have to do. So we're very limited in the amount of people we can take into the medical practice because there is so much admin that goes on behind the scenes. Whereas we can help an unlimited amount of people on the coaching side of things,
And that is one of the most recurring themes in the testimonials. And it's why when somebody sits down for an initial evaluation to see whether or not they're a good fit for the practice, the first thing almost every time I ask them is, did you watch the testimonials? If somebody didn't watch the testimonials, that's a big red flag for me, because if you're serious about working with us, because we're very serious about working with you, this is not just some other functional medicine practice. This is my life's work. Everything I've got goes into this. I'm incredibly passionate about helping people and about getting them great results. It pains me when people don't get good results. I remember the cases. I think about them years after the fact. I think, how could I have handled this better? How could I have served that person better? How could I have gotten them the results that they wanted? What was going on with that person? So I live and breathe for good results. And good is not even doing it justice. Great results, over the top results. And if somebody's not willing to invest 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes in watching some testimonials, how much do they really care about getting well? And so, yeah, we essentially do the same. 90% of what we do on the medical side winds up being coaching, which people don't realize often coming into the practice. And that means you can get that value in our coaching programs, and you can do it now without the wait, without a bunch of interviews to see whether or not you're a good fit. And it's more affordable because we don't have the amazing number of admin staff that we need, and let alone clinician time, because clinician time is expensive in functional medicine in order to serve those people. And so that's part of why we created the coaching programs. We wanted to help more people. There was so much demand. And we also realized that a lot of them were coming in, and the 20% that they needed a medical doctor for, they could go elsewhere for that. But the 80% that they needed the coaching for, we were ready to deliver that anywhere they want. So,
and you can bring your labs, you can ask questions on the call. You know, we've literally found,
I'm not offering medical advice, but if you ask me, hey, Dr. Stillman, and this is the thing that people need to understand, is if you say, hey, Dr. Stillman, what does my testosterone of 395.67 mean? I'll say something like, I'm not your doctor, I'm not practicing medicine via the internet, but here's what I think when I look at a testosterone level. Now, the truth is we got webinars and videos and things like that on testosterone. So usually what I'll do if someone asks me sort of a basic question like that I've covered elsewhere is I'll say, hey, go review this video over there on that topic and then come back and ask me again. Because the reality is we just can't keep answering the same question over and over and over again. That's part of why, we can make courses available to people and scale them rather than just charging people a very high hourly rate for one-on-one consults. But
yeah, and
anyway.
you've literally found people doctors online, like during a call. You've Googled.
I know people who they could work with locally,
right?
Who were going to actually
through their
take
bio.
good care of them.
Yeah, you've gone through their bio, and then we also educate people on how to interact with their doctor, how to talk to them, how to not be bullied by their doctor, how to get the people to understand that the doctor is working for you, and that they're your advocate, and getting them to be open-minded, and how to talk to them so they don't feel like you're belittling them. You're just saying, hey, this is what I think about this. What do you think about this? Taking a different approach. So, you know, it's a really good way to get your view on things and to how to interact. We spend a lot of time on the calls talking about how to interact with your doctor. And that's very important because a lot of people are so intimidated by their doctor that they don't even go. Right.
Right. And they don't know what to ask for or what to say if they do go. And then they just don't access any medical care, which is all, by the way, part of the plan to make everyone on planet Earth as sick and dependent upon big pharma and corporate medicine as possible, which maximizes their profit margin. And that's the whole thing that just discussed Jim and I, is that the whole system is set up to create people who are dependent, who are sensitive is the wrong word. They're not resilient. The opposite of resilient would be they're fragile. And because they're dependent upon the system, they're worried constantly about, well, what if I lose my health insurance, or what if this happens, or what if that happens? But then they restrict care, and they make the care that people get so mediocre that no one is well. And, I very strongly believe that the greatest medicine of all is teaching people how not to need it. Hippocrates said that. He's the father of medicine in ancient Greece. He also said things like, illnesses do not come upon us out of the blue. They are the result of small daily sins against nature. The more sins accumulate, when enough sins have accumulated, illnesses will suddenly appear. And what he clearly states, and countless physicians after him have stated, is that the diet, the lifestyle, the environment of the patient or client in a coaching setting is going to determine the illness that they develop. And you can create the right environment for their wellness to emerge. And that's where, with many people, we end up butting heads during our consults with them, because they say, well, I think I need this, and I think I need that. And what about this? And what about my thyroid? And what about my testosterone? What about that? Stop focusing on your illness. There's one big strategy for me to share with you to create and achieve wellness. It is, don't focus on your illness, focus on your wellness. And also get laser focused and serious about falling in love with the process of becoming healthy. I wasn't born loving how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. I had to learn. But when I learned how to cook, there became this tremendous satisfaction that I had. Oh my gosh, I just cooked this beautiful, delicious meal, and I got to share it with friends and family, maybe a dog that's really adorable and cute when I feed him, right? And same thing with working out. Jim and I worked out. Jim and I split a house for a year last year in Florida, and he took me to the gym with him 2-3 times a week. And it was life-changing, because if I hadn't had that time with him, which you can get in our coaching programs, it's not going to be quite the same as him training me one-on-one in the gym with me, right? Although, by the way, get on the email list, because Jim and I have talked about giving people the opportunity to book like a week training retreat with Jim, where they just go down to Nicaragua, live at the beach with Jim, not necessarily in the same house for the record, but they live in this community in Nicaragua, and he goes to the beach with them every morning, maybe every afternoon, and he teaches them what he spent a year teaching me. In 6 months, he put 20 pounds of muscle on me. And for those of you who are thinking, I don't want to gain weight, Dr. Stillman, I want to lose it. Newsflash, if you want to lose weight, what you really want 9 times out of 10 is you want to have better body composition. You want to have more muscle and less fat. You want to be more dense. So you actually do want to gain weight. You just want that weight to be muscle and bone. No one ever complains that their bones are too heavy. They complain that they don't look the way they want to look. And then they blame it on some number on the scale, which is why Jim and I like to say, throw out your scale. But that's another story. Jim trained me for a year in person. It was, like I said, life-changing, because he taught me how to love going to the gym. And the next thing I'm really excited about is that I'm living here in Florida, in Naples. I live about 15 minutes from the beach. And in the morning, I like to get up and I like to go out and get coffee. Well, what I just did was for Christmas, I bought my wife a sandbag that's like 25 to 75 pounds. I bought a TRX band set just recently, and we're going to go to the gym. We're going to use the TRX band set. I see Jim grimacing over there because I said TRX band. And what I mean is TRX strap. Excuse me.
It's better.
I'm going to take
I
know. I'm going to take the TRX strap. I'm going to combine it with the sandbag so we can do things like sandbag drags through the sand. So we can pick them up and do farmer's carries so that we can then go into the ocean and swim around. And so I learned how to love working out. That was not something I was born knowing. It was not something, I mean, I got to 30, I guess we split that house when I was probably 33. Maybe I just turned 34. And I had not learned how to love working out.
Well, tell them why the reason why you hated working out before.
Oh my gosh.
Because everything you did caused you pain.
I would have pain. I bought the sandbag, and Jim's gonna laugh at me. I'm laughing at myself because it was funny. And I was living in this house and I didn't know what I was doing with this thing. And I would just pick it up and I would do bent over rows. And I would wake up 3-4 days later and I'd be like, man, my back is sore. I really overdid it. And I had no idea how to eat. And that's one thing that working with Jim right away, 3-4 months together, taking on the same clients, I'll never forget, he came to me with this case because what ended up happening was I started taking on people and then saying, okay, you're going to coach with Jim and you're going to doctor with me. So you're going to have this many sessions with Jim. He's going to check in on you every couple of weeks. And then I'm going to see you for these sessions. And we're going to do these labs, right? Jim comes to me with this case. He says, this is a slam dunk case of exercise addiction. I said, what are you talking about? Now, I learned about exercise addiction and if you're listening to this thinking, well, I don't have exercise addiction, Dr. Stillman, go back to the burnout thing or talk about weight loss or talk about whatever. Addiction is a thing that we find in people that they're using to suppress and cover up and distract themselves from their emotions. So whether you're addicted to your morning cup of coffee or your success or your job or some other thing, maybe some unspeakable things I don't feel like talking about right now, whatever you're addicted to, this is relevant for you. And if you're feeling burned out, we're going to laser focus. If you coach with us, we're going to find the thing that you're doing too much of. Because if you're tired, it's a sign that you need to slow down and reassess what you're doing in life. Because something you're doing is either burning you out or not fueling you properly. And that's the key to getting people out of burnout. So Jim comes to me and he says, this is a slam dunk exercise addiction. I said, really? I'd learned about it in medical school, learned about it in residency, seen 0 cases. Why? Because the vast majority of people coming into the conventional medical system, who the vast majority of doctors know in and out, do not have exercise addiction. They have coffee and ho-ho and ding-dong and Little Debbie snack cake addiction. Not that there's anything wrong with the occasional treat, right? I'm not some kind of, I don't know, I don't want you to just give up all of your creature comforts and indulgences. There's a time and a place for that, but moderation is key. And so they have no idea. I couldn't tell you a exercise addiction case I saw in 4 years of med school and 3 years of residency, let alone 3 to 4 years of postgraduate hospitalist work as a traveling doctor all over the country. And sure enough, this young lady was doing insane amounts of high intensity interval training, weight training, all of it. And, you know, we see a lot of people now where they don't understand that their exercise regimen is burning them out because it's way too much for what they're eating and what they're doing. And most trainers don't know that most of them just don't have the experience to know when someone's exercise addicted. And so that I can honestly say that case changed the way I practice medicine, because it made me realize if you don't know what the patient's activity level is or client's activity level is, you have no business telling them what to eat. I mean, no business, because you will miss a huge number of people who are either working out too much or who are totally sedentary. And the real solution for them is actually to start lifting weights, start doing some gentle zone 2 cardio like walking, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. And I figured that out after one conversation with the young lady, you know.
Right. So. You probably figured out after about 15, 20 minutes, right?
Well, yeah, I kind of had an idea when you gave me the rundown, you know, having issues with digestion, can't figure out why the digestion won't improve.
Oh my gosh. A huge number.
Gain, you know,
yeah. A huge number
of people, weight loss, massive weight loss, you know.
Yeah. So. A huge number of people who are struggling with weight gain, struggling with GI issues, struggling paradoxically with weight loss, struggling with their sleep, struggling with their energy, struggling with things like headaches, things like anxiety, depression. You could easily be over-exercising and not realize it. And you could also just be eating or fueling yourself the wrong way. And then we change some things in what you're eating, how you're preparing it. I mean, I'll never forget this one case. I feel like I tell this story all the time. But a young man who came to me and he said, I looked at his numbers in his labs and I said, hey, you don't eat any nuts and seeds. And he said, no, I don't. I can't eat them. They make me sick. I said, look, try some. I think they'll help you. He comes back. He says, I can't eat those. I said, well, what happened? He says, I ate a cup of cashews. I said, wow, a cup of cashews? Those of you who don't realize this, a cup of cashews is 500 plus calories. It's a lot of fat. It's a lot of protein. It's a lot of fiber. If they're salted nuts, it's a lot of salt. It's a lot of food for you to deal with all at once in your gut. And if you've got a tender digestive tract that isn't really up to power, it's going to rip you up. And I said, okay, slow down. It's not that you can't eat nuts and seeds. It's that you can't eat them that way in that quantity. So why don't we try this? Take the same nut, it was cashews, take a quarter cup or a small handful, put it in your Instant Pot with some rice and cook it. And sure enough, he was able to tolerate them. And people think, oh, that's simple. I could have gotten that from Instagram. Yeah, you could have. But how many of you are scrolling through Instagram 20, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours a day. You're constantly accumulating information. You're constantly taking in data. Many of you, I know, you're constantly buying products based on stuff you read or get on social media. I have no problem with people selling products. I'm good friends with many people in the health and wellness world who all they do is sell products. They don't really sell any consultations. But I have to tell you, the products are not anything without the right strategies for success. And I often quote this now. It's a quote from Sun Tzu's The Art of War. He said, "Strategy without tactics is the slowest road to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat." And what he meant by that was that if you have good strategy, you will win, even if you have terrible tactics, because you'll figure it out. Even if you have the best tactics, you will still lose. And I can't help but think of the country of Afghanistan, which has successfully repulsed invaders over a long enough period of time, that is, from ancient Greece, Persia, Russia, Great Britain or the British Empire, and the United States. They didn't necessarily have the best tactics. And certainly in the case of the larger empires who went to war in them, the Greeks, the Brits, the United States, and the Russians, they were up against forces that were wildly better equipped. And in some cases, you had massive tactical advantages. But their tactics, even though they were excellent, didn't work because they had the wrong strategy. And there's a funny quote from America's experience in Afghanistan. The Americans have all the watches, but we have all the time. And without getting any further into that, I just want you guys to understand the point is, if you have good strategy, you will figure out the tactics. If all you have is tactics, you're going to fail over and over and over again. And for me, I hear a lot of people making a lot of noise before their defeat with biohacks, supplements, protocols, different types of diets, different types of, people coming up with all kinds of new weird stuff. It's hard to keep up. But none of that matters. If you don't have the right strategy, you're going to fail. And this whole webinar, right, is holistic strategies for sustainable energy. And the point of all this is that you need people to help you understand what are the right strategies for you, and then we can pick the tactics. And the tactics, honestly, are they're the smallest piece of the puzzle. Because once Jim and I get to know you a little bit on a coaching call, we're going to be able to help you take 2, 3, 4 tactics away from that call right away. And if you just execute them, sometimes the results are shocking. And that is the value of coaching and the power of coaching, to help circumvent years of wasted time, wasted money, pain, disappointment, and frustration.
Well, and I think most people are focused on swinging for the fence instead of focusing on getting on base. You need to get on base to be in the game.
Great way of putting it.
Everybody's swinging for the fences. They want the huge home run shot, and that does happen from time to time, but is that sustainable? You need to get on base so you can be in the game. And then a lot of people fail because they start with too many things. So a lot of the things we do is simplifying things for people and identifying a lot of people. It's very hard to be self-aware, and that's why people have coaches. That's why athletes have coaches. And the thing that coaching does is the coaches make you do the things you're not going to do on your own. The warm-up stuff, the walking, the things that aren't as exciting. Those are the things that, the lights off at night, are you getting your lights off at night? Well, I've been watching Netflix, so you're at least wearing blue blockers, and a lot of these things take time to break bad habits, to break, and also having a community. How many people do you know that are not a complacent, compliant consumer, that are self-aware, having a community you can go to where you don't feel like you're, the ugly duckling on the side of the road, where there's people that actually,
the family.
Yeah, there's people that, Dr. Silva and I care greatly about your liberty and about your ability to choose what's best for you and your family. Where people actually are able to have discussions where they maybe even disagree, but are able to do it in a rational, not emotional way without personal attacks. That kind of community and those kind of people are just not very prevalent these days. So that's a big part of the calls too, is being able to go and get to know different people, And, Dr. Stillman talked about having people come down here. That's one of the reasons that I'm selling t-shirts and mugs too. You should be getting one this morning. I think it might already be at your house.
Hey, send
Yeah.
drop a link so people can buy
Yeah,
your gym swag.
I will. So
Yeah.
I basically I'm building a gym here to help build this community down here so that people can go somewhere where you'll be left alone, and I'll have a place to train people if they want to come spend a week with me here. And we're selling t-shirts and mugs, and I'll share a link to the website on that. It's nikabarbell.com, and there's a little video there. And if you don't feel like buying merchandise, you can always just donate. I put a donate. You can buy the gym a cup of coffee, and simplicity and consistency is the key. That is correct. So there's the Nika Barbell link if you're listening, on Spotify or wherever else this is going to be shared. And Dr. Stillman just shared the Aura Ring link. But we want to help you help yourself. We want to teach you how to be self-aware, to be able to step back, and to become more resilient. We don't want you to be a fragile flower, but we want you to have the self-awareness and the ability to be silent, to turn off the afterburners, to recharge, reset, so you can handle more stress if needed.
Right. And so that you can achieve
point.
Your goals. Because time and again, what ends up coming up with people who are struggling with burnout is, hey, listen, you're not realistic about your goals and your capacity. Yeah, you could get by on 4 hours of sleep when you were 25, and you could build your business and maintain a good relationship with your spouse and parent your kids and cook dinner and on and on and on, right? But you're 45 now. You got a few miles on the engine, and you need to realize you cannot continue to behave like you were 25. You need to hire staff. You need to hire helpers. You need to rely on people in your community for support. And you need to create a lifestyle that fits with that. And a lot of times this is about helping people get clarity on what actually matters to them. And, people never come to us and say, well, what matters to me most is building a bigger business or having a better car or any other sort of shallow, vain, vapid, narcissistic goal. It's always the relationships in my life, the legacy I leave behind. That's what matters to me, because I can't take the money, the cars, the status symbols of life to the grave with me, and they're not going to do anything for me or anybody else after I'm gone. Okay, now that we've got that part out of the way and we're on the same page, what does matter to you? Who does matter in your life? And what do you see yourself doing with them that's meaningful? Okay, that's our goal. That's the mountain you want to climb. Now, how do we get you there? And how do we keep your physical vessel intact long enough for you to do that? And I can't tell you how many people, and particularly that men struggle with this, because men, we're very much internally wired to keep running the engine until like a wheel has fallen off or the engine is smoking. And then you really need, then it's expensive medicine. It's, like the equivalent of a $5,000 replacement engine would be like a $50,000, $60,000 coronary artery bypass graft. You're far better served by being coached into a healthy, sustainable lifestyle where everything from your labs to your Oura Ring data looks perfect, right? And 90% of that across the board is coaching, not medical care. Does the medical care play a role? I'll tell you where the medical care plays, I think, a key role. It is critical for getting people to basically come to Jesus about where they're at. I see this all the time. We have multiple CEOs in the medical practice who they're saying, oh, I've got to work. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And I say, hey, listen, your labs say that you are in the highest risk category for heart attack. Stop. Let that sink in. What does anything in your life matter more than you being around for your family, to continue running your business, to create your legacy? Nothing's more important than that. You need to do everything possible to get from the high risk category to the low risk category. And a lot of those people, they need the labs or they're too stubborn to do what they know they need to do without the labs. And anyone can go to a doctor and get a high sensitivity CRP, which is a measurement of how what your heart attack risk is. It's one of the things I run the most in the practice. Anyone can go and get a vitamin D level. You don't need Dr. Stillman, functional medicine doctor to order that for you. You can even go online and order it, believe it or not. Not that I'm condoning or recommending that, because I think ordering labs without having someone to learn what they mean from it's just, you actually sometimes see people creating a lot more mayhem in their life than they are good. But that's why, again, we come back to the coaching piece. It's so critical, because before you get the labs, we know what you need to do. After you get the labs, we know what you need to do. 90% of it is the same for people. And if it's not the same, we've got to tailor it to your goals, because we're not going to give the same advice, recommendations, information, or explanation to a hard charging 25-year-old man who is, let's just say, for example, preparing for special forces selection, as we're going to give to a 65-year-old retired mother of 4 who just wants to be able to get down on the floor and play with her grandkids. These are two very different people. And that's why you won't catch us running around on the internet selling one-size-fits-all stuff. And even in the protocols I publish on my Substack blog, which I encourage you all to follow, it's my baby. I love it. And I put out a lot of the protocols I use in my practice. But in every protocol, I say things like, you have no business using this protocol if you're not getting to the bottom of what's truly derailing your sleep or ruining your thyroid or this or that or the other thing. And like I keep saying, a lot of that is about the coaching, the diet, the lifestyle, the environment. Jim, you're muted.
Thank you. A lot of people don't even know what their goals are. I'll have people come to me.
I know.
They'll be training like Rocky Balboa from Rocky 4, and their goal is to look good and feel good. And it's like, you don't have to train like Rocky Balboa to look good and feel good. Or they'll be doing things that are totally opposite. They want to have a lean athletic body, and they're running marathons. And it's like, well, if you like running marathons, that's great, but it's not the best way to get a lean athletic body. So a lot of people are picking the wrong activities. They just think more effort is the key, right? What attributes are you trying to develop, and what's the most efficient way to do it?
And we've had people who came through and were unrealistic with their goals. And we just said, look, we think you're unrealistic. It's nothing personal. For us, it's hard not to make taking care of people personal. You get to know them, you become attached to them. I'll see somebody on a call who I haven't seen in 3, 4, 6 months. I'll say, hey, how have you been? What's going on? What's new? I mean, we genuinely care about the people we take care of, we coach, and in the medical practice, we doctor. But for us, when we're talking about your goals, it's business. We're not going to blow sunshine and rainbows at you when you need us to be like, hey, listen, guess what? You are not going to be the hard charging athlete you were at 25 when you were trying out for the Olympics. And the loving, sensitive, caring, emotionally available mother, and the hard charging CEO, small business owner, highly paid professional, and parent teacher association president. It's not realistic. And I sometimes say to people, look, you got 3 things in life you want to be. Maybe it's a great parent. Maybe it's a great, employee or business owner. Maybe it's a great fill in the blank here. Pick 2. Particularly this comes up with women, because, the meme today, or the one of the most destructive things I see happening to women today is they get sold this bill of goods by society. We're going to get banned. Make sure you're on our email list. We're going to get burned at the stake upside down by the nut jobs who run the world and who run the social media engines, because it's stuff like this. Make sure you're on our email list. Anyway, I see them being sold this lie that you can be super mom and super wife and super employee or career woman or boss babe or whatever you want to call it. This is unrealistic. Can you do all of those things for a brief period of time? Yes. And if you want to do all those things for a very prolonged period of time, you'd better have a top shelf functional medicine doctor, because you are going to need everything from hormones to supplements to biohacks to hyperbaric oxygen to ozone. I mean, you're going to have to spend so much money keeping your system in top shape. It's going to bankrupt some of you. So don't try.
Buy a float tank and sleep in it every day.
I mean, that's the thing, is we got to get people to be realistic. And it's not that we enjoy being the bearers of bad news. We're not trying to bring anybody down. I mean, Jim and I are very optimistic about life in general. We want to enable you to achieve your goals, but we've also got to be real with you. And we see way too many people out there selling people on hope and selling them on empty promises that they can't back up. And I mean, two people, Jim and I, between what we know about hormones, peptides, biohacking, supplements, nutrition, diet, lifestyle, exercise, all these things, you're not going to find two people who know more about this. You're going to have occasionally somebody who will look up, like I asked Jim the other day for Jay Campbell's, guide to male pattern baldness, because it was relevant for a patient. Because truthfully, I don't think anyone other than Jay Campbell has done as much research on that topic. And largely it's because Jay's been struggling with that problem himself for decades. But, it's hard to find two people who've got as much experience together as we do, which is part of the power of the group coaching calls we do together. It's why they're one of the highlights of my month. Because someone will say to me, hey, Dr. Stillman, what do you think about this? And I'm like, hey, based on what I know about you, I actually want to know what Jim thinks about this. And our tandem consults, that's what I call them, when we happen to be on the phone with somebody together, just the three people, they're some of my favorite experiences, because we're able to bat back and forth. Well, what should this person's exercise routine look like? What should their diet look like? What are we going to do for their bioidentical hormone replacement? Or what are we going to do for this medication or supplement or whatever the problem at hand may be? And it's, in the group coaching calls, you get to be a fly on the wall for conversations like that for other people, and you will be fascinated. Amy, who runs our hair tissue mineral analysis component of the coaching program, she said to us, I think if more people understood what was going on in these calls, who were signed up for the program already, there'd be more people on them, because these are really valuable. There's a lot of hard-hitting, interesting, thought-provoking content here. And I get on them, and I think the same thing. That's why they're some of the highlights of my week.
Well, and I think a lot of it is we teach people about trade-offs, right?
We do.
There's going to be consequences to your action.
Right.
If you want to be a high-level power lifter, there's going to be consequences that come with that. You want to be a special forces operator, there's going to be consequences that come with that.
Yeah.
And it's about managing those consequences and making sure that managing those trade-offs and making sure that you're not, driving your car off the cliff, so to speak. And most people think you need to be a high-level, high-achieving, hard-charging athlete to be healthy. And that's just the furthest thing from the truth.
And on top of that, most people have gotten conditioned into this idea. And you got to understand, guys, to be completely honest and transparent with you, there's a very significant, Annette's here. Annette is saying, look at that. Annette, I really enjoy the group calls. Very informative. Annette, we're glad you like them. We love having you on them. I look forward to seeing you again soon. People have also been sold this idea from the medical community that what you need is a panel of labs and a consult with a doctor. And there's a lot of value in that. Don't get me wrong. But time and again, I've seen the coaching do what the medicine could not have done. And part of that, you have to understand why that has gotten so much traction in society. So let's look at an $800 lab panel. Let me tell you something. Wholesale price, those labs, if you know where to look and you know where to contract with your lab provider, you can get an $800 or $1,000 lab panel for $100 to $250. That's a 90 to 75% discount. And people are buying these labs left, right, and center. I'll have patients come to us and say, hey, I bought these at wherever. And I say, did you realize that we could have ordered all of those for you for less? Because you're a member, and that's part of the benefits of membership in the medical practice is we give you these discounts that we're able to extend to our members only. So if you're a medical lab testing company and you see, wow, we can make a 90% margin on this lab panel. Wow, that's a huge incentive to just say, hey, everyone, here's our $800 lab panel. It'll give you insights into your thyroid and your hormones and your this and your that and your other thing. And I always kind of chuckle when people come to me. They say, hey, I ordered this really big, expensive lab panel. I don't know what it means. Do you have 20 minutes to talk to me about this, or 30 minutes? And I'm like, you should have just become a patient. would have been a lot easier. Anyway, so there's a huge margin on labs to be made. And then obviously functional medicine doctor or integrative medicine doctor time is a scarce resource. There's a lot of demand. And that basically means that there's a huge incentive for people to be marketed this idea of, and then there's a lot of money in supplements too. I mean, most supplements, the margin is something like 50%, 30% on a bad day. That simply means that, and we have a discount for our supplements for our members, but to be transparent, we still make a percentage, right? But what I'm trying to convey to you guys is that there's a huge market and a huge incentive for people to just market lab tests to you and supplement protocols. And we have lots of people coming in who say, I bought these labs, I bought these supplements, I didn't get any results. I don't know why. We're focused on coaching and teaching and empowering people. Hippocrates also said, if you're not your own doctor, you are a fool, which I think is quite funny. And we're trying to empower you guys to be well. We're trying to empower you with information. We're trying to help you understand, okay, if you do need medical care, if you do need labs, here's the role they play in your wellness. Here's where the coaching needs to end and the medical care needs to begin. And like I've been saying, 90% of what we see most people coming in, what they need is the coaching. And if we don't get that in place, it's like not laying the foundation of a building. You are asking for major problems to emerge later that could have been mitigated if you started with the right foundation in the beginning.
And Kathleen asks, are the Aura rings female or male specific or generic? The app itself, they're specific because the female app has birth control tracker and ovulation and all that stuff. So the app itself is specific. So that based on male, female, or whatever that means these days.
Right.
Burn me upside down at the stake. So yes, the app itself is specific to male, female. They'll probably get sued for that, but that's okay. So let's get into what actually comes with the course. So basically, if you sign up today, you get 50% off the first month. It is a year-long program. You get an onboarding call with me, which you'll basically go into the course, into the introduction. You'll watch the little video. You can book the onboarding call with me where we can like really give you the quick and dirty how to get started quickly for your specific situation.
And how to get results.
Correct, quickly. And then also you have our access to, you go into an app. There's a link to an app. You add yourself. It's gonna ask for payment, but you don't give a payment. I will go in and manually add you, and basically it's going to harass you every day with a notification that says, have you done your fundamental habits today? Yes, no. And eventually there's going to be workouts in there where I'm going to be building that out so that there's going to be more stuff, more things to help you specifically. But that's the accountability app. You'll be every day, you'll be asked, did you do these basic things? And then at the end of the week, it's basically going to be, how was your sleep? How's things going? And that way, we can also keep tabs on you. You can also message me within that app. There's also, you can track your nutrition in there. It's not as good as Chronometer, but it is pretty decent. You will have access, if you choose, to do an HTMA with Amy, which is.
And by the way, you don't have to download the app. Jim loves the app. I hate apps. Every time someone offers me,
you don't have to do it. It's just, but most of the people that come into the course they say they need daily accountability.
They need accountability.
And that's why I got the app, so that there's something basically reaching out and saying, did you get outside today? Did you walk outside 3 times a day? Did you eat a protein at every meal? All those fun things.
And if you think you don't need accountability, you are the one who needs accountability the most.
That is correct. And so you got to build those habits. And then you have the opportunity, if you want to, book an HTMA with Amy. That includes all the supplements and 3 months of email support.
HTMA means hair tissue mineral analysis. It's a test where you look at your hair, what minerals are in it, and then we help you understand what that means about you. And then it includes supplements that are recommended based upon the pattern we see.
Yep. And then you get 8 group coaching calls a month. You get all of our fundamentals of wellness. There is wellness secrets in there, some bonuses. All the Q&As for the last year are in there, which actually has timestamps in it. You can go to the top of Kajabi, which is the platform it's on, and you can search for a subject, and it'll bring up all sorts of good stuff. That it's all time stamped in there. So there's a limited amount of resources. If you're struggling with something after the initial call, if you need help with exercise or something like that, if you're comfortable with me sharing that video in the group, I will do additional calls and I'll record them and I'll share them as part of the course content. So if
Right.
you want to take me to the gym, if you want to look at your exercise program, I
Right.
can film it and share it within the group if you want to get on some extra calls with me. So that's
So long as you're comfortable with that.
yeah, as long as you're comfortable being on camera and comfortable sharing it. It's not going to go on like my regular social media, but
Yeah, we're not going to post
in
this in the world, but it's going to be for people who are in the program. And that way, what
Right.
people need to realize is you're all teaching each other. I mean, so many people come to me after one of our coaching calls and they say, listening to so-and-so's problem made me think about mine in a different way. And they
Right.
do their own problem solving and then they get better results. It's part of the power of the group coaching. And let's talk for a minute, Jim, about why we created an annual program. Most people out there are pitching you 8-week, 4-week, 12-week boot camps. Even in the medical practice, we will work with people in an initial program that's at least 2 and at most 6 months. And the reason is that you want to be most aggressive in trying to help people get behavior change in that first 2, 3, 4 months. But the truth of the matter is, and we both know this from taking care of so many people, the truth of the matter is that most people who get into the groove of a good diet and lifestyle and daily routine for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 3, 6, 9, 12 months later, they've fallen back into most of their old habits, call it 60 to 95%. So why would we pitch you a 3-month boot camp? A lot of you would say, oh, it's exactly what I need. It is what you need, but it is not all that you need. And we would rather coach people who are willing to make a year-long commitment. People who are not going to say, oh, I tried that 3-month boot camp and it didn't work for me. I'm out of here. And I'm very clear with this for the people in the medical practice. I say, look, I'm going to try to get you 50 to 90% improvement in the first 3 to 6 months. But my real joy actually comes after that. Once I've taught you all the things that I really want you to know about how to be healthy and well. And once I've done that, well, then for me, the real fun begins because we get to dial you in. I'm stuck in kind of fireman triage mode for the first 3 to 6 months, kind of sorting through all the disaster of various years and decades of mistakes that have been made. And then after that, we get to take you from 50% or a little bit more up to that 90, 95%. When people say, Dr. Stillman, in a testimonial, I'm at 95% of where I want to be, I am so happy. And when we're at 50%, I think I've got 45% more that I want to deliver on, at least. And that's why we created it as a year-long program. It is not a good idea to just commit to a 3-month program. It is not a good idea to just commit to a 6-month program. After we do the initial programs at the medical practice, there's another opportunity for a membership where you get to work with us for as long as you want. And the goal there, like I said, is to take people who get, and some people don't make the 50% mark in 3 to 6 months of their initial program, and they really need the membership. And those people, my goal is 5 to 15% improvement every quarter. I would say the same thing about anyone in our coaching programs. That's what I'm looking for as far as improvement on their goals.
Well, if you look at athletes, they're constantly being coached. They just don't do training camp and then they stop coaching. They're coaching. Tom Brady was getting coached to the day he ended his career, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same. When I had people that were with me for 20 years, they'd be plugging along really good, and then all of a sudden they'd be like, I'm not feeling so good. I tweaked something, or how's your sleep? Well, I've been under a lot of stress. I started having a couple glasses of wine, and my sleep hasn't been that hot, or I've been skipping my morning sunlight. And it's like, I just have to remind them, okay, get back to the basics, get back, just instead of driving completely off the road, you kind of hit the ditch a little bit, just slow down a little bit and steer back onto the road. And a lot of people will do really well, and then they'll have a death in the family, or they'll have a setback, and then that just completely washes them out. Now, we've got somebody in the coaching program right now who's doing really, really well, and he had a slight washout, and he was able, because of the support of the group, he was able to get it under control in a couple days. And he said, in the past, that would have sidelined me for 6 months to a year. I would have just spun completely out of control. So
I
having
know.
people in your life to act as the, you go to the bowling alley with the little kiddie bowling and they put the bumper rails up, the ball's going off to the side and the bumper rails keep it on the bowling lane. That's the beauty of having someone to hold you accountable and a mentor / coach. So when things start going bad, the coach is there. Don't panic. It's okay. Just stick to the basics. Get your technique, just like in football or wrestling. I played football for a long, long time, and the great coaches were coaching us even the day before the championship game. Remember the basics, and
that's something you've told me over and over again. Like you said to me once, the difference between truly elite level athletes, performers of any stripe in any endeavor, the thing that differentiates them from those who are really good is that they can keep it together even when everything is deteriorating around them. Like I can't help but think of how a quarterback whose defensive line is collapsing, like the people are about to sack him, and he still has that ability to make that throw accurately to his receiver. And the funny thing is people don't think their wellness is like that, but it absolutely is. It's, can you get up every day, even when your life is a disaster, and do the fundamentals? And that's why I said earlier, you've got to fall in love with the process of being healthy, because that's what makes it easy. That's how you make it so that when things are going badly, you don't double down on bad habits to cope with stress. You double down on healthy habits that build your resiliency. When I'm having a tough time with the work that we do, which is challenging, with life, with the world and what's going on in it, I don't reach for, well, actually I do. It's hard not to reach for a bottle of my brother-in-law's wine from Arkenstone Vineyards. It's so good. And we have some left over from my wedding, and it's just, but I pace myself. And I only have 1 or 2 glasses occasionally, right? So it's tempting, right? But what do I do instead? I'll start taking more early morning beach walks with my wife. I'll plan more time off, more dinners out. I'll sit down with Jim and be like, hey man, listen, let's talk. I just want to talk. Let's relax. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this problem? Right. And Jim said, look at all these top performers. They all have coaching and they're being coached right up to the end. The biggest expense in those people's lives, I guarantee you, and the last thing they'd cut is actually their coaching. And that's where you get into a certain level of performance and a certain level of wealth and success. You're talking about coaches who are coaching people for $60,000 for 6 months, was what a recent patient told me about her husband's life coach. And people don't realize. I mean, the people don't realize what a premium is placed on good coaching. And the reason is, you want to get great results. You want to get world-class results. You even want to just get good results. Whatever you're trying to get good results in, coaching is going to make the difference.
Well, and our lives, or the lifestyle, our modern society has drawn us away from the lifestyle that makes us inherently healthy.
Right.
And it's very hard to assess yourself, right?
It's like trying to cut your own hair.
Right, correct. And in my case, I can do a fairly good job of that, but I still go to a barber, particularly because it's $5 here. It's not like $70 like in Florida.
Right.
And so having someone else to look at your case from the outside is very, very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, I think we should wrap it up.
Yep, I will share those links one more time, and we'd love to see you in there. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me an email at jimlaird@stillmanmd.com.
Yep.
And I'll answer any of the questions that you have about this. But we'd love to have you in the course. We're only opening it up for 30 people because we want to keep the quality high. We don't want the calls to have too many people. We want people that are very engaged. Thank you, Linda.
Linda says, so grateful to have found you guys. We are grateful that you found us.
Yes, and please contact me. We'd love to have you down here in Nicaragua. So
that's right.
Have yourself a great day, and make sure you get outside. And if to get some sympathy, I usually don't do this, but one of the reasons we're having this sale is it is my birthday next week. I'll be turning 49
Everyone
years
comment,
of age.
happy birthday, Jim.
Yes, I usually hate birthdays, but I'll take one for the team. So when's our next? So we're doing 30, and then we're closing it off, and then the next time we're opening it up.
Our goal is to coach about 150 people a year in this program. That allows us to keep the calls at like Jim said, a manageable, appropriate number, so you can all get your questions answered and get the coaching you need. We're opening to 30 people at a time. Spring, summer, fall, Black Friday, I think, and then
New Year's,
the winter solstice, winter. So, and so that's when you get an option to join this program. It's not going to be around all the time.
Yeah, and if you have bought the course, if you've bought the course itself, email me first before you buy the course, because I will give you a special discount link that'll take the price of the course off the price of the coaching. So, thanks for all the birthday wishes. Have yourself a great day. Don't forget to get outside.
Take care, everyone.